Hi, I'm Laura from Your Little Sisters Productions, and I am a mega Gilmore Girls fan. I grew up watching it with my mom as it was airing, and to this day, I love rewatching and talking all about it. However, one thing I've noticed about the online discourse with Gilmore Girls is that more people seem to be interested in talking about Rory's boyfriends, not so much Lorelai and the men in her life. So let's get into it. But before we do, make sure you like this video if you like it, subscribe to see more videos like this and original audio dramas, and a big thank you to Lindsay K for her avatar artwork. Her link is in the description box below. The first boyfriend that we see Lorelai with is Max, a teacher from Rory's very prestigious private school. I remember when I was younger really liking Max, and I always felt a bit sad that they ended up not working out. However, on a revisit of the series as an adult, I am so glad that Lorelai walked away when she did. Max is pushy. He doesn't take Lorelai's many no's as a final answer. He steamrolls over her concerns about dating her daughter's teachers and how that could make things harder for Rory. And to top it all off, they are both incredibly bad at communicating with each other. Over and over again, they have issues that they never fully work through, and that frustration comes out in other times in their arguments. For example, Luke and Max have a "Quien es más macho?" Who was the bigger man moment, and it culminates in an argument between Max and Lorelai where they get into who, if anyone, they were seeing while they were apart. It gets unnecessarily petty and mean, and it ends with no real resolution of their problems. Max is jealous of the chemistry and obvious interest Luke has with Lorelai, and instead of openly and honestly communicating his worries about it, he brags about his dating life while they were broken up in an attempt to also make her jealous. And they never fully resolve the jealousy or Luke issue. We see the discussion end with them admitting that the closer they get, the more they keep fighting. Lorelai thinking the solution is breaking up, and Max proposes marriage. We also never really see them come up with a good solution to the whole mom of a student dating the teacher thing either. They make a really big deal out of it for so long, and then nothing. They also never seem to come together on what their life together is going to look like or what Max's role in Lorelai's and Rory's life will be once married. They do seem to agree that Max will move into Lorelai's house in Stars Hollow, but it comes up to the week of their wedding and Max still doesn't have a copy of the key to the house, which leads to another argument and Max telling Lorelai that she's selfish and needs to think of someone other than herself. I don't think Max is a bad person or anything, but I do think that he and Lorelai ultimately do not go together, and I am really happy that Lorelai realized it before she walked down the aisle. I think that these two were more in love with the idea of being in love with each other than they actually loved each other. They have a lot of physical chemistry and attraction, but beyond that, there doesn't seem to be much there for their relationship. They just had very different ways of going about life and very different paces at which they lived. Alex. Lorelai meets Alex and they have a very brief, barely seen relationship. He is the boyfriend we know the least about. They meet through Suki reuniting with an old chef friend of hers. We know Alex is divorced, he has a couple of kids, and he likes to go fishing and is opening up a coffee shop. We never see the end of their relationship, it just kind of fizzles out, although we do hear Lorelai telling Suki about seeing Alex less and less. Also, Lorelai is technically still seeing Alex when she sees and ends up kissing Max at one point, but we never see any fallout or consequences from that, as we never see or hear about Alex again after that. Jason. Jason is notably one of the weirder boyfriends of Lorelai's on the show, not just because of his quirky personality, but also because the ending of their relationship seemed oddly off to me. Jason and Lorelai grew up together, even going to summer camp together at one point. He works in the same industry that Lorelai's father does, and that is how he re-enters Lorelai's life in season 4. Once again, we see a man asking Lorelai out who she says no to, yet he stays persistent, and eventually she says yes. He does seem a little less pushy than Max to me, but it's still weird that we see this happen twice with her. I don't dislike Jason. There are a lot of times when I do genuinely like him, and I think that their relationship makes sense at this time in their lives. But I also see why they ultimately wouldn't work out in the end, even though I do feel that the way the writers have them break up is still really weird. First of all, I have seen many say that Jason is like the male version of Lorelai. He has the same quick-witted, quippy humor and comebacks. He has a pet who acts weird. Although Lorelai didn't have her dog Paul Anka yet, but when she does have him, he acts weird. And he grew up in the same world as Lorelai, but doesn't quite 100% fit in. Yes, he works in the same industry and seems to have a good amount of wealth and is a workaholic, but he's a lot more in touch with people and life outside of that bubble. He's the one who convinces Richard to go to Atlantic City instead of the standard dinner launch party when they combine to form a company. And he convinces Richard to try new, funkier restaurants and foods. He's also really bad at golf, which seems to be par for the course for business transactions in his field. He is an outlier in that world, but he seems to have good business sense. The reason I feel his breakup with Lorelai was weird is just the why behind it. There were so many other reasons for them to break up, but the one that they ultimately went with just didn't make any sense to me in the long run. I do think they needed to break up. One, so Lorelai could build her relationship with Luke, but also because I just don't think that they had that much more life left in their relationship with each other in anyway. I just don't see them being able to fit their lives together in a way that would make them both happy. They are so different in their ultimate goals of life and how they live. But the reason why they break up is because Lorelai's father betrays Jason and not only ices him out of the business they built together, but also makes it impossible to find another but also makes it impossible to build another business or find work with someone else in that same field. What Richard does to Jason is downright diabolical. And while I agree that Jason and Lorelai hiding their relationship from their parents was wrong, I don't think it deserved that kind of a response. So Jason does what he can to try and save his career. He sues Richard, and Lorelai says that she can't date someone who is suing her father no matter what her dad has done. I think that of all the times for Lorelai to show that kind of loyalty to her parents, this was a weird one. Because Richard did do stuff that was morally not right, and I'm assuming some of it might have even been illegal, although I'm not a legal expert, so don't take my word for it. But I think Jason was well within his right to fight back and try to regain his reputation and career back. Even Emily, Lorelai's mom, sees that what Richard has done was way too far, and she separates from him. I don't know why Lorelai wouldn't stay with her boyfriend when he's the one who got wronged in the situation. Honestly, this is the only thing I really dislike about him and his time on the show. I wish they would have found a different reason for the breakup instead of Jason getting his whole life turned upside down and losing his girlfriend all in one go. Christopher. Christopher is Rory's mostly absentee father. The first time we see him, Rory is 16, and it appears to be his first time really taking the time to visit Stars Hollow and see where and how they live. I could do a whole video on Christopher alone. Let me know in the comments if that's something you would like to see, but I'll keep it brief for the sake of this video. He and Lorelai were dating as teenagers, and when she got pregnant, he was on board to get married and live the life their parents had planned for them. Lorelai refused and ends up running away with Rory when she is still a baby. I'm not quite sure if Lorelai told Christopher where she had gone or that she was planning on leaving at all, or if it took him a while to find out where they were. And at this point in time, cell phones and social media were not really a thing like they are now, so it was harder to stay in touch. Christopher seems to be a bit of a drifter, never really staying in one place or at one job or with one girlfriend consistently. He also seems to be sporadic in his fatherhood duties. The first time we see him and Lorelai together romantically, it is extremely short-lived as he gets the news that Sherry, his sort of separated from, sort of not separated from girlfriend, is pregnant, and he leaves to go be with her and his baby. Lorelai and Rory are both heartbroken, and it's hard not to sort of hate Christopher for not getting his act together sooner so that he could have been with Lorelai earlier and not have to go away to raise another child with another woman. Lorelai and Christopher are on and off throughout the years, but their longest time together is in season 7 when they get married and then consequently divorced. Lorelai and Christopher know each other really, really well, having grown up together and getting into trouble together a lot, and of course, staying in touch because of their daughter. They get each other's senses of humor, music, and movie tastes, and they genuinely do love each other. Lorelai and Christopher will always share a deep appreciation and love for each other and Rory. They are a family in that way, but they ultimately don't work out romantically. The timing never seems to be quite right, although I do wonder what would have happened with them if the writers of the show had never written Luke into the script. Luke. Originally, the owner of the diner was going to be a woman named Daisy, but they ended up changing her character to Luke after the network felt they needed more men in the main cast. And I am personally so happy they made that call, and not just because I love Luke and Lorelai together. Luke brings so much to the show, even outside of his relationship with Lorelai. If you'd also like to hear a longer video going over why Luke is my favorite, let me know. I could talk about Gilmore Girls for days. Even before Luke and Lorelai become a couple, it is clear that Luke cares about Lorelai and Rory, and he takes the time to do things for them. He offers his handyman services to Lorelai, usually free of charge from what I can tell, especially on her birthday. He makes a cake and sets up balloons for Rory's birthday, and he gives her presents. He supports Rory's dreams, and he gets mad at Dean after he and Rory break up because he sees how sad she is and he's protective of her. And we can clearly see the chemistry and feelings Lorelai and Luke have right from the beginning. From the first moment we see her begging for coffee in that first episode, I knew we were in for a ride. I watched Gilmore Girls in real time growing up, so I remember waiting and waiting for them to finally get the timing right and just go for it. The sadness when they broke up, and the happiness again when they kiss in the last episode of the show. Luke is clearly the best option for Lorelai, and vice versa. No, they're not the same in their music or movie tastes or their hobbies. He's a rugged outdoorsman and general hermit. She's a spa woman and a social butterfly, but they complement each other so well. He doesn't often say in so many words how he's feeling. He shows it. He shows it by showing up for Lorelai when she needs something done around the house, or giving her a loan for the inn when she opens one with Suki, or showing concern for Rory, or letting Lorelai take over his diner after the Independence Inn catches fire, doing favors for her mom and her dad is in the hospital. Even if he's angry with Lorelai, he shows up for her and wants to see her happy. All the things that make them opposite of each other are why they work together so well. He's already established in Stars Hollow. He doesn't want to leave, which matches what she wants perfectly. He gets her in ways that others, even Christopher, don't. She can tell him anything. He is a safe, stable, protective, service oriented man who loves her fast talking and quirks and upbeat personality. And Lorelai loves his rants about things that annoy him and his attitude of service and selflessness. If Luke didn't exist, however, I sometimes wonder if the writers would have gone a different direction with Christopher and Lorelai in the end. Would we have gotten an equally drawn out, amazing love story with Lorelai and Christopher with no Luke in the picture? Would we see Christopher step it up in the parenting department and be there more for Rory? Would we have seen him acclimate more to life in Stars Hollow? Would he have a different personality or hobbies to complement rather than match Lorelai? I will always be curious about that as a lifelong fan of the show. As much as I love Luke, if you can't tell, I also really love the idea of seeing two people who had a child together when they were young grow up and come back to each other. I don't think Christopher is a bad guy, but he doesn't ever get the same love or treatment from the writers that I think Luke does. And I have to wonder if he would have gotten more had Luke not been there. Or would his and Lorelai's story been the same and a completely different character come into play for Lorelai? Or would she have stayed single in the end? As always, a huge thank you to Lindsay Kay for her new avatar artwork. Her link is in the description box below. Go check out her amazing artwork. Taya and I love talking about entertainment, but what we love even more is creating our own stories. So if you haven't yet, please consider checking out our first original audio drama, The Adventures of the Dragonborn, on our channel. We have some seriously talented voice actors and singers who worked with us on it, and we are so proud of what they brought to the table. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked this video, give it a like and subscribe to see more content like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.